really grateful that we have come together here today, and look forward to being in your company in the next 2 hours. So with that, I'm going to turn on to mute, invite anybody else who isn't already on mute, except for Erica, to go ahead and turn on to mute.
Hi, everybody. So I am really happy to be with you all today. And my goal in providing these trainings is to, I'm sorry, I'm downloading the earlier training so that I can make it into a video and send it to you all. So I'm recording the trainings so that people can either go back and look at them or share them for people who weren't able to be here. But my goal for providing these trainings is, I know here in Baltimore, when we had our uprising in 2015, it made a lot of people start saying, well, what can I do to be a part of the change I want to see in my city? And so what we did, one of the things we did is we held a basic mediation training. Our training is a 50-hour training. So we offered that for people. And so that's my goal for these trainings as well. These are conflict management trainings for people who are just feeling like, I don't know everything that I should be doing, but I do want to, learn some stuff to help me be a part of the change I want to see in the world around me. And often the way conflict shows up in our world, we all just have so much work to do around how we listen, how we respond to things, how we perceive conflict in the first place. And so that's the goal of these trainings, is to give people some skills and some things to think about. So right now the training we're doing is around a skill called inclusive listening. So this is about like how to listen even when it's really hard to. So I'm going to ask you all, and feel free to type in the chat or unmute yourself to answer questions. So the question right now is, when you are in a conversation with somebody and they start saying things that you disagree with, or they start saying things that you just think are offensive or stupid or whatever, right? They're saying things you don't like. What kind of thoughts do you start having in your mind while that person is talking? So this is not the like, what would Jesus do response that I'm looking for. I'm really looking for like your real, when people are saying things you don't like, what kind of things are you thinking in your head while they're talking?
How can I get out of here?
Nice. Mm-hmm.
Is this person for real?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Somebody said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
How much longer am I have to be subjected to this?
That's good. Yes. Yeah, what people in the chat are saying things like, how much do I value this relationship? Just straight out, oh my God, well, where did that come from? Wonder why they feel that way. I have to engage in self-talk to quell the urge to call out their ignorance, figuring out how to bite my tongue, trying to formulate my response so that I can even maybe speak to the other side of it, right? Wondering why are we so different, right? Or even should I respond, right? And so you notice that so many of the things, so nobody said, oh, I see it as an opportunity to really listen even deeper, right? And so very often when people are saying things we don't like, it doesn't make us go, let me listen deeper to what this person is really saying. How can I really work on understanding? What we more so start listening to is our own thoughts and opinions and analysis and what I need to do about what this person is saying, whether or not I should respond, right? Most of our ways of listening when somebody is saying things we don't like, our reflex is to start listening to ourselves while they're talking. And while we're doing that, they are still talking. And so it means we zone in and out of things that they're saying, right? And even if we are still hearing words, what's louder in our heads is our own stuff, our own opinions, our own, how do I respond, our own analysis of why this person is saying that, us thinking of solutions about how to fix this person, right? All of that kind of stuff is a little bit louder while people are talking. And I will grant you that there are absolutely times when the thing to do is to tell somebody to sit down and shut up. You know, like sometimes that's the thing to do. And the thing about building relationships, right? So even if you are, whether it is you're building relationships in your personal life with family and friends, or coworkers, people you have to see all the time, neighbors you have to see all the time, or even in times like this, when people are really trying to figure out, there are people standing on very different sides of a gulf right now, right? And people are yelling from this side and people are yelling from this side. And we see things very differently. And I know that one of the only ways we can actually heal and change injustices in our society is if the people who are yelling on opposite ends of the gulf have a bridge somewhere in the middle that they can start walking across to see each other's humanity, to work on understanding each other, not just each other's experiences, perspectives, but also each other's experiences. Because it can be hard. It's easy to judge. You shouldn't think, right? It's harder to work on understanding, how did you come to that way of thinking? What has happened in your experience that has made you arrive at this very, what I perceive to be a very effed up way of thinking, right? How did you get there? Because only in really understanding the how do people get there can we figure out what do we need to heal in our society that makes people end up with these very unjust perspectives and ways of viewing the world. So that means we got to work on understanding things that we don't like, so that we can even get to this, what solutions can look like. We have to really understand what's important to them and what their experiences have been. And something that's important about the way we listen is really understanding how the brain works. So this way of inclusive listening that we're going to be talking about is you listening, not focusing on even that person's blame or victimhood, and not us jumping right in with our opinions or response to what they have to say. Because the truth of the matter is, when people are listening to you, if they feel attacked by anything you say, their brains go quickly into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And the brain is constantly doing this 24/7. Within milliseconds, the brain is literally scanning its entire environment, making quick decisions about, is my sense of well-being intact right now, or is my sense of well-being feeling threatened right now? And there are things that nurture people's sense of well-being. And so when people feel safe, they do open up and they talk more and they spill their truth and they work on understanding you, and they'll actually listen to you because their sense of well-being is intact. But there are also things that automatically make the brain tell the body, my sense of well-being is not intact right now, and so I need to run or fight or freeze. And so there's a part of the brain that all it does is scans faces to see if the facial expressions or the faces that are around me look like they are a threat to my sense of well-being, or if they are nurturing my sense of well-being. Also, when people feel misunderstood around their self-image, right? So when we notice, how do people say racist things and then get mad when you say that they said racist things? And it's because they only heard the word racist. And so for them, they're going, I'm not a racist. So what is happening inside of their brain is humans need to feel understood. Like being understood is literally a biological necessity. Because what happens when you feel misunderstood is that your brain is saying, this person does not understand who I am. My image of myself is being violated. My perception of who I am is being mischaracterized. And so in order for us to feel safe, we need to at least feel understood around the intention. You may not agree with what I'm saying, but do you really understand my character and my intention? And so that makes it hard for people when they hear you say words about them that are opposite of their image of themselves. They go into being defensive, or they run, or they freeze, right? So what you'll see is an escalation or something that looks more like shutting down. But what people don't do is go deeper into what they were really trying to say, because instead they're defending something a lot of times. And so people have to feel heard and understood, especially when you disagree with them. Because the truth is, if I'm going to listen to something you don't like about what I'm saying, I'm more open to hearing it when I feel heard and understood first. When you jump straight in with your reaction to me, now we're just defending our perspectives. But when I say something, and what you first do is make sure I feel heard and understood around whatever it was I said. Now I'm in a more de-escalated space just because of the way the brain works. The brain has sent a message to my body, oh, this person understands what I'm saying and who I am and what my perspective is. And so we're de-escalated and more open to actually listen to whatever is about to happen next. And so if I feel heard and understood first, and then you start explaining to me how something I said might be problematic, I'm actually more in a space to hear it after I feel heard and understood first. And another thing that makes people go right into fight, flight, or freeze mode is when people feel that things that they value have been violated. So something that I hold dear, something that is important to me, is being violated or misunderstood. So what is it that people value, right? And when those values feel misunderstood or violated, again, the brain sends a message to the body. My sense of well-being is threatened right now. It is not intact. I don't feel safe. And so it's also important to understand, how is the brain deciding whether or not your sense of well-being is threatened or intact? So what the brain is doing is pulling from your previous experiences to decide what you think is about to happen. So very rarely is the brain a very present place. The brain is not very often like, in this present moment, what am I going through? That's not really what's happening. The brain is constantly going, what have I experienced before? And then projecting based on before what might be about to happen. And so it's not just your own experiences that it's pulling from. The brain literally pulls from experiences of your group. So whatever your major demographics are that you identify with, your ethnicity, your gender identity, your spiritual and religious traditions, neighborhood you grew up in, right? Whatever for you like sets your identity and what groups with which you belong, your brain pulls from the experiences of your group even, not just your experiences, because the experiences of your group are often in your body memory and in your DNA and that sort of thing. And so it goes, what have I experienced in the past? And then it sees something that's happening right now and your brain projects, okay, well, here's what I think is about to happen. And then your brain watches whatever it is play out, and then it reassesses, yes, I was in trouble. Yeah, it was what I thought it was going to be, or no, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. There is also, but people's, that can be impacted, right? Your decision about what is happening can be impacted by how often you have not felt safe. So when you think about demographics of people who have experienced a lot of trauma. And I don't just mean physical trauma, I mean racial trauma and blight in their neighborhoods and educational trauma and not having access to healthy food, right? All of the kinds of things that cause trauma in human beings. When people have experienced a lot of trauma, it literally shortens the way that they react to things. So what happens is, so if you're looking at me on the screen, I'm using my hand and my nub to paint a picture right now. So from the time something happens to the time you respond to it, there's a pause in there, right? So that's how your brain is designed. There's supposed to be a pause between the time something happened and the time you responded to it. That pause, let's say, is supposed to be this big, as big as the gap that I have between my limbs right now. The more trauma you have experienced, that gap starts closing like this. And so it means that people who've experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of being misunderstood, a lot of being isolated, mischaracterized, invisible, unheard, unseen, all of that stuff, their gap between when something happens and how they respond to it is now this small instead. And so when you wonder why do people maybe just pop off, or even your own self, when you think about things that you're more likely to just react to instead, and you don't really have a pause to think about things, it's probably because whatever that thing is, you have that's what we call having a short fuse, right? That fuse is literally the pause that's supposed to be there to give you time and space to think about your reaction and consequences and all of that kind of thing. And so it's important to even understand that when people feel rejected, so social rejection is processed in the same part of our brains where we process being physically hit. So I don't know who made up this saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But they didn't know what they were talking about in relation to the brain. Because literally, when words are said to you that make you feel rejected, when things happen that make people feel rejected, your brain doesn't process it like it was just words. Your brain processed it as if somebody physically hit you just now. So then when you think about, again, demographics of people who constantly feel rejected by society, it means that those people constantly live in a space of being physically hit, right? And so they have an abusive relationship with society at large, right? So now, how does all of that translate into how we listen to one another and be present with one another? Then it means that it becomes very important when you understand how the brain functions. It becomes very important that we are listening to each other in a way that makes sure people feel understood around what they value, right? That makes sure people feel understood around the intense emotions that they're expressing, that their emotions feel validated, whether you agree or disagree with the emotions or not, whether you think they should be that upset or not, they are that upset. And until they feel heard and understood around the intensity of their emotions, they can't de-escalate because they stay in a place of defending why they should feel the way that they feel. And then a third thing that is really good to listen to is what we call topics. So topics are the actual things that people are saying. I have conflict about this thing. I don't like the way this thing is going. And then those things are the things that you realize, oh, these are the things we need to problem solve around in order to meet the values that the person is expressing and the feelings and to heal the feelings that they're feeling. We would need to resolve these particular things. So the three things that we're going to be learning how to listen for today are what we call feelings, values, and topics. I want to give a quick example about what I mean when I say the brain pulls from previous experiences. And I want you to is relevant, especially right now in the times that we're facing, where a lot of the conversations are about how Black people are perceived in society, even by Black people, right? So one of my children loves watching like YouTube videos and documentaries and stuff. And she was watching something about the brain, and she made me come watch this experiment she was really fascinated with. And it was a really simple thing that these people did. So they brought a laptop to like a wide open marketplace where people were walking back and forth. And they would get people to sit in front of the laptop, and they would flash 20 pictures on the screen. And they would flash them quickly at first. So the pictures would go boom, 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 like that, right? And they would flash the 20 pictures, and then they would ask, did you see a hat or a shoe in this set of pictures? And people would say no. And then the researchers would say, okay, well, now we're telling you there's a picture of a hat and a picture of a shoe. See if you can find it this time. And then people will go, okay. And so then they watch the screen, and the pictures get flashed again. Boom, 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 boom. So they go, did you see the shoe and the hat that time? And most people said, nope, still didn't see it. So then they would slow the pictures down. Boom, boom, boom. Did you see a hat and a shoe that time? And they go, well, yeah, that time I saw it because the pictures were moving slow enough for me to really see each picture. And then the researchers will go, okay, well, now we're going to flash a brand new set of 20 pictures for you. And we're going to do it at the quick speed like we did at first. And then we'll ask you a question. So people will go, okay. And so then the pictures will come. Boom, 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 boom. And then the researchers would say, okay, in this set of pictures, did you see a picture of a spider or a picture of a snake? And now most people said, yes, I absolutely saw a snake and or a spider. So the question is, why is it when pictures were flashed really quickly, people never saw a shoe or a hat, but when pictures were flashed really quickly, people absolutely saw a spider and a snake? And the reason is because of the way your brain works. Because your brain has pulled from experiences of your group to decide what it thinks is happening right now, it means that the brain has evolved in that way. So over the history of humanity, shoes and hats have not been problematics and a threat to our safety and sense of well-being. So we can see a shoe fly by and a hat fly by, and our brain doesn't go, oh, look at that, there's a hat. Like, that doesn't happen. But snakes and spiders, on the other hand, humanity has found to be extremely problematic and often a threat to our sense of well-being. And so in humanity, we all, if you flash pictures at us really quickly, your brain will find something that even looks like it might be a snake or might be a spider and decide, oh, this might be something I need to watch out for. And so that's why, although the pictures were flashed really quickly, people automatically notice a snake and a spider. So when we take that then and go, oh, so what this tells us is that what we are constantly shown starts to condition us to tell us what we think is problematic and a threat to our sense of well-being. So when we think about how often do we see images of people holding guns? How often do we see images of people doing criminal activity? How often do we see images of people looking like they're dangerous, right? And so when you think about, for example, how Black men, and we only take Black men as a demographic, how often do we see imagery of Black men looking dangerous and problematic in society? Right? And if that is the conditioning that we've seen from the time we were little kids, that Black men are killing and being killed and killing each other and robbing and stealing and being criminal, right? If that's a big part of the imagery, then what that means is all of humanity, no matter what demographic, even if you are Black, all of humanity is being primed that when you see an image that looks like a Black man, that is something that might be a threat to your sense of well-being. And so you should be extra vigilant and watching this man, paying attention to what he's doing. And then it means we perceive the things that they're doing as dangerous, when if let's say a white man was doing the same thing, we wouldn't see it as dangerous. One of my favorite examples of this is there's this meme that goes around social media where it'll show men in suits, and then it'll show black guys in white t-shirts and baggy jeans. And it'll say, like, you know, that there's this difference, like a suit is more respectable. And it made me really think about, well, that's true. If you're walking downtown in any city in America and you see 5 white men walk past in suits, you don't think anything of it, right? People see 5 black guys walk past with sagging jeans and white t-shirts, and they have a different feeling inside their chest, even if it's not even a conscious. There's a different feeling a lot of people just have in their chest. And the truth of the matter is, it's because white men have some of the best marketing strategies in freaking history. Because in reality, white men in business suits kill more people every day than black boys in white t-shirts and sagging jeans ever will be able to kill. Right? But the marketing is that we can trust white men in suits, right? And that's the imagery we constantly see of white men in suits are, you know, powerful and helpful and, you know, whatever all of the stuff is. So those are just examples for you to chew on, right? To think about how powerful imagery is and how it impacts the way that we perceive things around us. And then when you take that to, so then in conversation with people, then I need to be listening in a way where I'm checking all of my judgments, all of my opinions, and I'm really being aware that a lot of my judgments and opinions come from my social conditioning. And I'm being conditioned in a lot of ways that I don't even recognize. So the best thing for me to do is to go, how can I make sure I'm being present with the person who's talking right now and really working on understanding what it is they are saying is going on for them, and check myself when any of my own opinion or analysis is coming into that. Because my opinion or analysis could be coloring, mischaracterizing, and misunderstanding what this person is saying. And when the person feels misunderstood, because they're a human, their brain shifts into fight, flight, or freeze mode, right? So I put in the chat a few documents. So if you scroll up, if you've been here since the beginning, you can scroll up and you're gonna see one that says Zoom inclusive listening handout, but I'm gonna put it back in here in case people need to. I'm also gonna put it on the screen, so don't worry about that. That's not the one I wanted. But I think you can still see that one, but I think the PDF is a little bit better. So let me go pull that. So if you would like to download it or, you know, pull it up on your own screen, there it is. And then along with this goes the feelings handout and the values handout. So I'm putting those in here as well. And in a second, I'm actually gonna put the Zoom one on the inclusive listening one on the screen. If you cannot, I'm also gonna put I'm putting my email address in here as well. If for some reason you cannot download the handouts that I'm putting on the screen in the chat, you can send me an email after the training is over, and I'll and let me know that you need the handouts, and I'll make sure I email them to you. Okay, and now I'm gonna put the handout on the actual screen. Where is it? What is happening? No, did I get kicked? Did I kick? Oh no, here it is. Okay.
Are you putting the Zoom one on?
I'm putting the handout. Yeah, I'm gonna put I'm sharing the screen in a second.
Okay.
And so I'm putting the
inclusive one, correct? This
inclusive
one.
listening handout.
Okay.
Nope, this is the wrong one.
And I see Maya is with us. Maya, it's Beth here. Can you put these on our training page on the cmrsmn.org website? These links?
When I receive them, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so now on your screen, you'll see the inclusive listening handout. And so what I want to first point out about the way this learning is going to happen is first, as I'm teaching this skill, I'm going to be using examples from like everyday life so that your brain notices these kinds of things. And it helps the information to absorb better. We're also going to do a classwork where I'm going to use a event that might be the kinds of things you're hearing people go through right now. So it'll be the vent of someone who is a homicide survivor, someone who has lost someone to violence, and they are venting about how they're feeling about it. And you can work on here, we'll use that to work on hearing the feelings, values, and topics, even when something is really hard to listen to. But so I'll read this handout out loud, and you can follow along with me either by downloading it yourself or by looking at it on the screen right now. So it says, inclusive listening is the process of listening to a positional statement and breaking it into 3 parts: feelings, topics, and what's important. Hearing people in this way helps you to work on understanding what they are saying without judgment. Positional statements are usually insults, threats, possible solutions, or angry statements that focus on the past and blame someone for the problem. Example of positional statements: she's such a slob, her crap is all over the place, I'm not picking up after her anymore. You may have heard or felt some of these as you've been quarantined in the house with people. He's a liar. He never tells me what's really going on with my son, and I'll take him to court if I have to. He'll never see that kid again if he doesn't change. If he doesn't turn down that music, I'm going to kill him. If you could follow directions, we wouldn't have these problems, would we? I was fired because I am a woman standing up for my rights, period. Okay, so these are some examples of positional statements, and I also just want to explain more like what we mean by positional statements. So your position is where you sit in a situation. So when things happen, we all are sitting in that situation, and we can only speak from our experience in it. So from where I sit, here's how this thing looks and feels to me. That's your position, right? And so even physically, if we were all in a room together and we were sitting in a circle, people across the circle from you are having a very different view of the room than you are having, right? And so the room looks different to them. Although they're in the same room, it looks slightly different to them because their position in the circle is different from yours. That same thing happens in actual situations. And so often in situations, especially conflict kinds of situations, a person's position is filled with blame of other people, right? From where I sit in it, in my position, here's what people always do, here's what people never do, here's what people should or shouldn't do, right? So there's a lot of blame. Okay, I see people are saying they aren't able to download. So shoot me an email to that email address and I'll make sure that you get the handout. Right now it's on the screen for people to see, but I'll make sure that you're able to, I'll send you the handout to download and it'll be easier to do an email. And so people often in their position, they have blame of what other people always, never, should or shouldn't be doing. But also from people's position, they often feel like victims of other people's behavior, right? So from where I sit, here's what people are doing to me, right? And so sometimes positions also have in them defensive affirmations, right? So I'm a good mother, and still I have to deal with this kind of thing from the school, right? And so those are positions often have that kind of stuff in it. Blame of other people, being a victim of other people's behavior, and then also defensive affirmations of who I All of those things, when your brain is in that space of blaming and feeling like a victim and being defensive, you are more in fight, flight, or freeze mode in your brain than you are in problem solving mode. So when you think about your brain physically, the back of your brain is the fight, flight, or freeze part, and the front of your brain is the creative, is what's called the rational thinking part. And so here is where we think about consequences, we think about what we believe is right or wrong, and then how to make decisions from that. We think creatively, so this thinking about all the possibilities, all of that stuff happens in the front part of your brain. The dilemma is when we are in fight, flight, or freeze mode, the brain works in a way that it often kind of shuts down because the back part of your brain takes over, and it's like it shuts down or puts roadblocks between the back part of your brain and the front part of your brain. And so you don't have as much access as you would like to have to your quote unquote rational thinking part. So this is why I can say something you don't like to you right now, and you will be mad and you'll say whatever you say. Tomorrow, you're going to think of 7 things you could have said to me that you couldn't think about right now, right? And the reason is because tomorrow you'll be de-escalated. You won't be right in that moment of being in your position and being defensive and blaming me and feeling like a victim of whatever I just said. Tomorrow you'll be de-escalated, so you'll have access to this part of your brain. So listening in this way, listening to how people's feelings, values, and topics helps to, in the moment, make people feel heard and understood so that they can get more access to the front part of their brain, because you feel like a safe space as someone who actually worked on understanding them. So the first thing we're saying we're listening for is feelings. And so this says feelings are emotion words reflecting the degree of intensity people express. Make sure that you listen for the feelings that people are expressing, not your opinion of what their feelings must be, right? So here's the difference. This example is a person says, I'm sick and tired of her wearing clothes that she knows will attract all the attention from the men. I try to keep clients from coming to our office in hopes they don't even see the way she dresses. I have a nice body too, but you don't see me coming to work dressed that way. All right, so this handout says that what you want to do right now is avoid your opinion that this person is jealous. But let's pause right here. And I want somebody to either type in the chat or unmute yourself and tell me, what is it that this person said that might make you think they are jealous of their coworker?
The fact that it even bothered her so much that what the next person is wearing.
So the fact that she's even bringing it up makes you think
Yeah.
that she's jealous, okay? And what specific things did the person say that makes you think? So comparing herself, somebody is saying.
Yeah, there you go, comparing.
Okay, so it's the I have a nice body too, that I don't dress that way. Attention from all the men makes you think maybe she feels like she's not getting attention. Okay, so now let me ask you. So if your goal is to help this person feel heard and understood, right? And if you were to say to her, so I think I'm hearing you say you feel jealous of your coworker, is that right? What kind of reaction do you think you're going to get from her? Defensive, right? So when somebody is defensive, it is often an indicator to you that the person does not feel understood, right? Because they're defending themselves against a perception that you have of them. So if you're saying, I think I'm hearing you say you feel jealous, and this woman gets defensive, it means that in her mind, she didn't just express that she was jealous. So when we go look at the handout and we're thinking about, well, how do I make sure I am hearing feelings the person actually expressed, and not my opinion of how I think they must feel, because those are different things. So what we now are doing is we're going, what words did the person say, and do these words equal the feelings that I think I'm hearing, right? A clean translation from something they said to this feeling. So, and a dilemma is people often don't talk in their feelings, right? They don't go, well, I'm upset and pissed and worried and afraid, kind of proud, mostly flabbergasted though, right? A lot of times people don't talk that way, but they do say things that equal feeling words. So for example, if somebody says, I cannot believe you did that. I can't believe equals shocked and surprised as feelings, right? So you don't know, you might think they're also hurt. You might think they're also angry, but you haven't actually heard words that equal hurt or angry yet. You did hear words that equal shocked and surprised. I can't believe. And so this means they could yell it, I can't believe you did that. You will go, oh, so you feel shocked and surprised. Or if they go, I cannot believe you did that. You go, oh, they feel shocked or surprised, right? So because it equals it, right? So now when we look at this handout, the reason this person would be defensive if you said it sounds like they feel jealous is because they didn't say any words that equal jealous. They said words that in your previous experience, you have decided, oh, a person is jealous when they compare themselves to other people and when they're bringing it up and just them saying, oh, all the attention from the men means they aren't getting attention. But there's no clean translation from something this person said to jealous. I'm going to tell you what a clean translation would be. If you heard this person say something like, oh my goodness, look at her boobs. They look so nice. Mine just hang down like 4 arms and nobody looks at me. Why is everybody looking at her all the time? What about me? I'm cute too. That would be jealous, right? Then you wouldn't even have to think about it. You would be like, oh yeah, that's what they're expressing. They wish they had what this other person has. So now this handout says feelings that are expressed by the speaker. So that means these next few feelings, we should be able to see words in the vent that the person said, and those words should equal these feelings without any explanation, right? Because it's a clean translation. So let's see if that's true. So this says the person expressed that they feel fed up. What did the person say that equals fed up?
Sick and tired.
Sick and tired, boom, right? So you can see how sick and tired equals fed up. You don't even have to think about it or explain it to yourself. It also says the person expressed that they feel embarrassed. What did she say that equals embarrassed?
Keep clients out of the office.
Very good, right? So this person, so if you were to say to them, it sounds like you feel embarrassed to have people come to the office, they're going to say, oh yes, absolutely. They're not going to feel defensive at all about that because that is actually what they were expressing. This last feeling it says is that the person expressed that they feel proud. What did she say that equals proud?
I have a nice body too.
Look at that. The very statement that when we had our opinion all over it, we went, she must be jealous if she's comparing her body. When we remove our opinion from it and we go, what does I have a nice body equal? It equals, I feel proud of my body. I feel confident about my body. I feel sure about my body. So if you were to say, I think I'm hearing you say you feel confident about the kind of body you have, is that right? She's going to go, yes, absolutely. Right? She's not going to feel defensive because I have a nice body too equals I'm proud, I'm confident, I'm sure about what my body is, right? So this is what we mean by making sure that you're removing your opinion of what the person said and you're going, did they say words that actually equal feelings? We also want to make sure we're listening at the intensity level that the person is expressing. Very often when people have emotions that make us uncomfortable, we start listening in a way that's more comfortable for us. So we start saying things like, oh, so you're concerned about what's happening right now. Oh, you're frustrated, right? We start finding words that are like dampened some. So let me ask you this. When somebody is upset and a genius comes along and says, hey, you should calm down, does that normally go well?
No.
No, right? So telling people to calm down generally does not work, right? Doesn't calm people down. So when somebody is escalated and they're expressing intense emotions, and you come in with emotions that are way lower than the ones they are expressing with your, oh, so you're concerned, when concern doesn't begin to get at what the emotions are they're expressing, it's the equivalent of you telling them to calm down. Because the message that it sends, if I'm expressing emotions up here and you come in with emotions down here, you're either sending me a message that you think I shouldn't be feeling this intensely about it, or you think that I need to calm down, or that you can't handle the level of intensity that I'm expressing. And so you are trying to make it sound nicer or dampen it or bring it down some. What actually helps people de-escalate when they're expressing intense emotion is them feeling heard and understood around the intensity of their emotions. Because it makes people feel validated, which means you can totally disagree with how upset they are, and you can still say, I think I'm hearing you say you feel devastated right now. Even if you think it's something stupid for them to be devastated over. It doesn't matter. They're expressing that that's how they feel, and you name the feeling at that intensity level, they feel heard and understood, because the message is not you are crazy for feeling that way, or you need to calm it down, or this is too much to handle for me, right? It just says, I honor that this is what I'm hearing you express right now. So somebody is asking, does the tactic, this is what I think you said, please share work, or is this is what I heard? Yes. So right now we're purposely focusing not on how you say these things back to people. We're focusing on what you hear first. But yes, absolutely, Joan, if I was going to reflect, I would be saying, this is what I think I heard you say, that you feel devastated, right? Is that right? That will be a reflection. And I think mediators in general, and even people who do regular work, we're used to going, I think what I heard you say was, and then we repeat back what we heard. And so our listening is what the problem is, right? Because if I'm listening, filtering through my opinions and my analysis and what I think about you, then I've listened in a way that is going to guide the way that what I say back to you around what I think I heard. So this training is really just about getting our listening more present with when people are talking, because then the reflection we do, right, will have in it what people actually express, and it won't have in it our opinions of things people said. Also in the chat, if you saw it, there was a feeling sheet. And I'm gonna put it on the screen real quick just so you get to see it, because I want to show you something that can be important about using this sheet. So if you look at the feeling sheet on the screen right now, it helps to give you a lot of feeling words so that you can practice listening for the different levels of intensity that people express. So for example, under angry, you can see that there's disgusted and there's also outraged, right? Because those are nuances. They're in the same family of a mad at you, but disgusted is not exactly the same thing as outraged. So this feeling sheet can be really helpful to help you build your feeling word vocabulary, right? So that you're not just saying, oh, so you're upset, you're frustrated, you're concerned, right? But you're actually able to say, I think I'm hearing you say you feel inspired. I'm hearing you say you feel condemned and diminished, right? These are nuances of stuff, right? And so so I suggest people using this feeling, practicing, like listen to talk radio, but you gotta listen to people you really hate. Watch trash TV, Real Housewives of anybody, right? Watch trash TV. Any judge shows, Cardi B, if you go on Instagram and just watch Cardi B's videos of her venting about stuff, she's very entertaining. So you want to practice listening when you're not under any pressure to get it right or wrong, right? Because we get better at whatever it is we practice. And right now we're really good at listening through our opinions. So in this new way of listening, you want to practice doing it, right? So just listen to people venting on TV And then turn your TV down or turn your device down and then practice. Here are feelings I just heard that person express, right? And use this cheat sheet to help you come up with feelings you think you heard them express. And make sure that you're not grabbing feelings that you think they are expressing, right? But ask yourself, did I hear them say something that actually equals this feeling without my opinion in there, right? Okay. So here's the inclusive listening handout back on the screen coming up now. So that's listening for feelings. The second thing that we're listening for is what we call topics. So again, topics are things that people are saying. I don't like the way this thing is going. Or this is a thing I have conflict about or challenges around. So these are generally one-word tangible items, and you want them to be framed, meaning you want to name them using non-judgmental language, which is not taking anybody's side. So you're just trying to name the things that people are talking about, right? And so I'm gonna give you an example, right? So you might notice that words like noise, for example, right? Oh, riot. That's a great word, right? Riot sounds like somebody is doing something wrong, right? And then in society, things get called riots depending on who's doing it, right? So when white boys get real excited because their favorite team just won some sport, and they go and break windows and burn cars and stuff, it's just, oh, they got a little bit out of hand, they got too excited. And then when the same thing happens, when black boys get upset about something and they do exactly the same thing, it gets named a riot, right? And so you're thinking about, okay, so how can I name things in a way that doesn't sound like somebody did something wrong? And so that's where we come up with topics. So the example here is, you harass me constantly. Don't you have anyone else to talk to? Every time I turn around, you are posting to my Facebook page, emailing me, or stopping me in the hallway for mindless chit chat. Then when I check my voicemail, you fill half my inbox with messages. Leave me alone and get a life. So you don't want to name this thing harassment that the person is talking about. You could say in their feelings, they feel harassed. You don't want to ignore the intensity of that feeling. But then when you name the thing, you're trying to name it that doesn't automatically agree that this person is being harassed and then blame the other person for actually harassing. Right? So you would name it. So they're saying, I don't like the way communication is happening with this person. So you could name that communication. If they were only talking about email, you email me too much. Why are you sending me all of these stupid memes in my email or whatever? I don't like the tone of your emails. Then we could call it just email. We wouldn't have to call it communication, right? Flipping to the next page. On this page, we're looking at what we call the topics grinder. So this is a way to help us make sure we are naming a topic in a way that's not blaming somebody or judging somebody or taking anybody's side. So when you're saying that something is a topic to work on, a topic to problem solve around, it should be something somebody actually talked about already, right? And you want to name it in a way that's specific or concrete. So here's what that means. Concrete might mean it's a thing you can actually touch. So somebody is saying, my neighbor's dog is barking all night, it's keeping me up all night. That's dog. We can touch dog. We wouldn't call it barking dog or loud dog, right? Because that sounds like somebody is doing something wrong. We would just name it dog. That's the thing they're talking about. And dog is concrete. It's something you can touch. Somebody else might be saying, oh, yes, excessive communication takes a side, right? Because excessive sounds like the person it means they're doing it too much. So you're now taking the side of the person who's saying this is too much. Whereas when you listen to the other person, they might be going, but if you would answer me, I wouldn't keep trying to catch you everywhere, right? So we name it the thing, not what somebody thinks is wrong with the thing, right? So again, so naming things specifically, somebody might say there's too much noise in this neighborhood. And when you go, what do you mean by noise? They go, well, my neighbors are playing their music so loud, it's like we live next door to a nightclub or something. That's music. So although music is not a concrete thing I can touch, music is the specific term that we call that thing, right? So that's how topics are specific or concrete. So the word doesn't blame anyone. So we wouldn't call it noise. We would go, what kind of things are you talking about that you're saying cause noise? And they go, oh, it's the music. Oh, it's the kids riding up and down the street on their bikes and their hoverboards and their whatever they're doing. Okay, so now we got music and children's activities. See that? So you named it in ways that didn't blame anybody. These are just the things that the person is talking about. The word also should not take any one side, and it should not set up a yes, somebody should, or no, somebody shouldn't. So the example here is this: the difference between cleaning up the house would not be what we would call something if people were arguing about how come I always have to do laundry and sweep the floors and, you know, clean up everything. It's a mess around here. And the other person is like, well, just because you want to fall head first into a broom and a mop doesn't mean I need to do that. I want to have time to relax and chill. I mean, we'll get the house clean, but it just looks lived in. Calm down. That topic is called housekeeping or housework, right? So you name the thing, not what you think people should be doing around the thing. So topics are going to be more nouny words. They should not be verby words. Okay? All right. And then next we have what we call what's important are values or values. So these are usually phrased as one or two key positive words reflecting the needs, goals, and values that people express. So listening for values helps you hear what's important in the midst of the blame language and the insults and the name calling, right? So in the midst of all of that, you can still hear what the person is saying is important to them. And so you're being sure to listen for values that focus on what they're saying is important to them, not focusing on what they dislike about others, which is their position. So if somebody is going, he's a liar, we're not going to go, so you think he's a liar, is that right? Because that just keeps them set in their position. When a person is speaking from a place of blame and victimhood, because of the way the brain works, is not a great place for problem solving. Right? People have to feel I have some ownership, some power, something I can do to get my own needs met, to get my values met. And so it's the difference between saying, okay, so I think I'm hearing you say honesty is important to you, right? Instead of saying, so you think he's a liar, because they don't think there's anything they can do about their politicians being liars, for example. But if you go, oh, so I think I'm hearing you say honesty is important to you, then they can think through, what does honesty look like to me? If my politicians weren't being honest, what would that look like? How can I get the honesty that I'm looking for, right? So naming the actual thing that the person is valuing then helps them be able to shift into, because I own this value, because this is my need, I can now think about all the possibilities in getting my needs met. So often you can hear values very clearly out of an insult somebody is making. So let's go back to the first page of this handout to see if that's true. So this person says, she's a slob, her crap is all over the place. So if I'm calling you a slob and saying that there's crap all over the place, what am I telling you I value? What's important to me?
Cleanliness, neatness.
Cleanliness, neatness. Very good. Very good. Right. He's a liar. What's important to me?
Honesty.
Honesty, right? And truth, right? Another thing that I really love about listening for values when I'm in my own conflict, listening for values reminds me that what the person is saying belongs to them. So one of my favorite books is The 4 Agreements, and one of the agreement, it's a book about like making agreements with yourself about how you are and are not going to function in the world. And one of the agreements that it suggests you make with yourself is don't take things personally. And I struggled with that for like 2 years because I was like, What he mean, don't take stuff personally. If it's being said to me about me, that's about me. So that's personal, right? I couldn't understand, like, how do you do that? And then I thought about the fact that I listen for what is important to the person. So I went, oh, when somebody says Erica is too loud, it's not because there's something innately wrong with me being loud. They're saying I'm too loud because they value quiet. Quiet is important to them. So now the people who think I'm loud, because I'm owning, oh, that belongs to them, I can decide when I'm talking to that person, since I know that quiet is important to them, then when I'm engaging with them, the louder I am, the more disconnected they start to feel because they like things to be more quiet. So I can make a decision when I'm engaging with them to pay attention to my tone and how loud I am so that I don't lose them in the conversation even, right? And so that helps me, like, thinking about, oh, I don't have to take it personally. Even if somebody is saying something about me I don't like, what they're telling me is what's important to them. And also, people base what they think is valuable on what they've been taught. So even when somebody says something is good or something is bad, you call something good based on what you've been taught good is or what you've been taught bad is. So just because somebody says something about me, oh, you don't dress professionally. Why is your hair in a mohawk with red locks? That's not professional. Well, I'm going, well, my creativity and self-expression is important to me. So as I'm doing this hard work in the world, I'm less likely to bang somebody in their face when I feel more authentically like myself, right? But they're looking at it like, oh, but professionalism is important to them. And it's not that I'm less professional, but it's what they call professional, right? So I can be a leader in my field, dressed exactly like I'm dressed, wearing my hair the way I'm wearing my hair, but somebody's going to call it unprofessional, not because I actually am unprofessional in my work, but because of what they deem professional based on what they think your hair should look like, your clothes should look like, stuff like that. So it makes me remember it's not about me. It really is about them and their perceptions of the world. So around values, the example here is the person says, how come I'm the only one who has to do what I'm supposed to do? You're supposed to be their father. How about you make a decision, take on the tough role, or do what you say you'll do? So we're not going to go, oh, he isn't doing his job as a father, right? Because that takes this person's side. We are going to say, oh, I'm hearing this person say accountability is important to them. Responsibility is something they value. They are looking for follow through, right? And so this is you listening for the values out of the blame that they're saying about the person. They're telling you what it is they want. They want accountability, responsibility, and follow through. This next part talks about how sometimes it can be challenging to hear value words because often value words are like these positive words: accountability, respect, honesty, genuineness, right? These positive words. But sometimes people are saying things where you're like, yeah, they value some stuff, but I don't hear nothing positive in there, right? So you still want to hear. Don't try to make what somebody is saying sound positive. Honor what it is they're actually saying. And listen beyond the drama, because people are complex beings. And sometimes we get caught in only hearing the drama stuff that they're saying, and so we miss where they actually are expressing really important values that don't sound so negative. So this is the example here. So this example came from a real mediation I did where two women had a conflict about a man, and they got into a fight, and then they had cross assault charges, and it went to court, and then the court referred it to the mediation center because they realized they lived in the same neighborhood, probably had ongoing relationships. So what happened was it was the ex-girlfriend and the new girlfriend. The new girlfriend came outside one day to go to work. Her tires were slashed. And so she's all upset. She calls her boss. She makes up some story about why she can't come to work today. She is livid. Meanwhile, the ex-girlfriend is going around the neighborhood bragging about how she slashed the girl's tires. So that got back to the new girlfriend. Okay. Let's say 3 days later, old girlfriend comes outside to her car. There's a brick in her window. She immediately goes around the corner to the new girlfriend's house, and she's like, I know you put that brick through my window. And the new girlfriend is like, what? A brick, you say? I know not of which you speak. How many other people's boyfriends are you having sex with? Maybe it was one of them, right? Okay. So they get into a fight. They get into a fight right there in the front porch. Okay. So they come to mediation, and the new girlfriend is insisting, I didn't do it. I didn't put the brick through her windshield. I'm a grown-ass woman. I don't have to do tit for tat like that, blah, 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 blah. So I didn't believe her. I was like, I think you did it, right? But out loud, I'm going, sounds like you feel mischaracterized and blamed, right? And then, so because she felt heard and understood by me and my co-mediator, right, we put our opinions of whether or not she was lying aside. We worked on understanding. So she felt heard and understood, which made her get comfortable to go into the story that came out in this vet. So she went into this story about, okay, yes, I did it, but here's why. So she said, because she slashed my tires, she needed to get what was coming to her. Since I went through having to miss work to get my car fixed, she should have to see what that feels like. So that's right. I put a brick through her windshield, right? She was also talking about how, like, just because my boyfriend didn't call her back, now she's messing with my money, and I couldn't even call my boss with a true story because I didn't want people to know I'm dealing with this kind of foolishness, and it's keeping me from going to work. And then she went to work just fine. None of her money was messed with, so she needed to know what that felt like, right? Okay. So what happened at the mediation table, I heard her say this, and because I was stuck in my opinion that she had been lying the whole time, as soon as she said she needed to get what was coming to her, I stopped listening right there. So in my notes for her, I put revenge and payback as her values, which she did express when she said she needed to get what was coming to her. So then I would reflect out loud, okay, so I think I'm hearing you say revenge was important to you. And she would go, I mean, kind of, but that wasn't really it. It was really, and then she would go back into explaining the whole thing. And I was like, yeah, that's payback. Like, I didn't understand. And then my co-mediator was like, I think I'm also hearing you say that you were looking for understanding and fairness was important to you. And then she was like, yes. And I was like, where'd she say that at? Right? But the truth is, when she said she should have, I wanted her to see what it felt like, she was looking for understanding. When she was going, it's not right that my money is impacted and hers wasn't, she was looking for fairness. She was looking for justice, right? So I stopped listening at the drama part of she needed to get what was coming to her. So I only heard revenge and payback. And this woman was expressing, I did want some revenge, and it really was, I wanted understanding and fairness and justice, right? So make sure that you're listening, not just at the drama part, but you're listening for the whole thing. This also comes into effect, I think often when we're listening to people vent or talk about things they're going through, people will bring up stuff that happened before. Right. And so we often start judging that, like, that has nothing to do with what's going on now, what we're talking about now. Why are they bringing that up? Right. So this happens in society a lot. Right. Black and brown people start talking about slavery and stuff. And people are like, oh, that was the past. Why are we bringing up the past? Keep in mind that when people are expressing their experience, if they bring up stuff from the past, it's because that is the point too. While you're going, that's not the point. It is the point to them. Whatever it is they're talking about that happened in the past somehow impacts the present for them and their experience. So we shouldn't be listening to people trying to decide what really matters and what they're saying or what the real point is. We need to listen in a way where we're going, everything they're saying is the point, right? Because then we really stay present with listening to people's full experience. And then I also put in the chat the values cheat sheet. So if you scroll up, I'll put it back right here again, just in case people need to see it. Because the values cheat sheet, I'll put it on the screen real quick too, so people see it, see what it looks like. This sheet has a bunch of value words on it. Right, so you can see it has a bunch of words on there that would be values. Think, right, what's important to people. So again, if you can't, I'm gonna put my email address in here again. Again, if you can't, for some reason, if you can't download these, email me at mediationdiva@gmail.com. I'm putting it in the chat again. And ask me for the handouts for the listening training. Okay, so now what I'm gonna put on the screen is a vet. Did I not? Oh, I gotta go pull it. So I'm gonna put it in the chat in case you wanna download it. But then I gotta go pull it from the correct place on my screen. Yeah. Why is this not?
Is it not the fourth document down at the top of the chats?
It says homicide survivor vent is what the name of it is. So if you're trying to find it, that's what it is.
It's there.
Okay. But I want to make sure I actually put it on the screen for people to see. No, that's not what I want. I want. What is this not? Oh, there it is. Okay. Save it as PDF. Okay. Download. All right, I should be able to put it on the screen now. Oh, there it is. Okay. So here's a vent from someone who lost somebody to violence. And what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna read it out loud. I'm sorry, my dog is making stuff move all around. Move, Carter. I'm gonna read it out loud and you all can read along or download it if it came into the chat. So it says, I miss knowing my own emotions. So often, I don't know how I'm going to feel. It makes it so hard to plan my days, work, school, appointments. I try to show up, be on time, or not leave before I'm supposed to. But it seems unfair that everybody has to keep a regular routine when I'll never see my brother again. My world stopped and the rest of the world kept going. Meanwhile, I keep getting in trouble because it's too hard to be anywhere when I'm scheduled to be. People keep telling me that I'm going to have good days and bad days. I keep trying to get ready for that roller coaster, but people really don't get it. Even the counselor doesn't get it. I must need a counselor who loves someone who was murdered, because all of my days are hard, and she seems to keep trying to push me past it as if I'm making myself feel this way. I need someone who knows that when murder snatches someone from you, good days are even hard. When something good happens in my life, it makes me grieve. And just when I think I'm having a good day, a song will come on, or I'll smell something. Can everybody mute your phone, mute your devices? Just when I think I'm having a good day, a song will come on, or I'll smell something that makes me think of him, or the wind will blow. And all of a sudden, I'm surrounded by the reality that I'm never going to see him again. I can't escape it. The thought of his murder stops all the happiness in my day, and it feels like a nightmare. I don't think people know what they're talking about. It doesn't seem like time will heal this wound. Okay. So what I want you to do right now, so I'm going to give you like a minute and a half. So don't put the answers in here now. But I'm giving you a minute and a half to think of what feelings you hear, what values you hear, what topics you hear. So take note of them yourself. Don't put them in the chat right now. But I'm going to give you like a minute and a half to look at this vent and pull out those feelings, values, and topics. All right. Okay, so let's start at feelings. What feelings do you hear? And I'm gonna say, try not to say frustrated is one of the feelings. Try to grab like actual like feelings that get at the intensity. So I see somebody says loss, grief, confused. They feel desperate. They feel hopeless. Somebody said pain, despair. So name the pain, like what feelings, and again, look at the person, the what the person is saying, and what words are they saying that equal certain feelings. They feel lost, they feel misunderstood, very good, right? With the people don't get it, overwhelmed, distracted. So pain is, I think hurt would be the, somebody said feeling numb. Somebody tell me what the person said that equals numb. If you said you think they expressed that they feel numb, what did they say? Right, so not understood and not heard. We would call that misunderstood and unheard. So you're trying to name actual emotions. Unfairness is not a feeling. Right, unfairness is their perception of what's happening, that things aren't fair, and so that's going to be one of their values, maybe.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry, I just muted everybody. So if you're trying to talk and actually answer a question, you got to unmute yourself. So I think I was asking, what did they say that expressed feeling numb? Oh, the person says, so I think the answer Betsy was given is they said, I don't even know how to feel, shows that they're numb. So if they had said something like, I don't feel anything, and that's weird to me, that would be numb, right? But when they are saying, I don't even know how to feel, that is lost and confused would be those emotions, right? That's a clean translation, right? I don't know is confused or lost. So this person actually did not express that they feel numb at all. They are saying so can't escape. Is it despair? Yes, despair I think is a good feeling. And also trapped, right? No matter, even when I think I'm having a good day, I just can't get out of this feeling. Trapped would be a good feeling for that. Good. Immobilized. Ooh, that's really good. What about values? What values do you think you're hearing this person express? What's important to them? Fairness, absolutely. Fairness is important to them. Sharon, when you're saying out of control, I'm not sure if you're saying that out of control is a feeling or a value. Yes, values health and healing.
I was back on feeling.
Oh, you were,
But
okay.
when I think of value, the person values their own emotions. They value feeling understood.
So understanding would be a value. Good. Consistency, somebody said. That's good. Their own healing is important to them. Support. Okay, so somebody's saying being supported is a value. Tell me where you saw, supportive connections between people. I'll take it because they're saying people really didn't get it. Family, their reputation being important to them. Very good. Schedule would be the topic. So schedule is one of the things that they're talking about. And what's important to them around their schedule. What are some things that they're saying is important to them around their schedule?
Routine.
Routine, very good. Having some control over their own schedule, that's good. Yep. Being on time, very good. Yep, our values around the schedule. Flexibility is a huge one, right? Because what the person is saying is right now, everybody thinks everything's supposed to keep going the way it normally goes, but I'm never going to see my brother again. And so I need some flexibility around what time I'm supposed to get there and how long I'm supposed to stay and all of that kind of stuff, right? Showing up is a really good value because they're saying that even though it is hard to show up, I'm still trying to find ways to do it, even if I get there late, even if I leave early. And that's important to me. Somebody is saying time for healing as a value. Let me see. So here's what's really important to notice is that this person isn't really expressing that time for healing is important. They're saying they don't think time is going to heal this wound. Right? So that's the place where if you had in your feelings, this person felt like hopeless and doubtful about how their healing was going to go. Right? That's a lot of what they were saying. And they actually being understood is definitely a value. Life, somebody is saying life as a value. Yes, their brother's life, I guess, would be that in there, but that wouldn't be, remembering her brother is important. Yeah. Good. Okay, what are topics that you think, and I'm gonna go back. Sorry, I muted myself when I was trying to mute everybody. So I'm just muting everybody again. So if you want to talk out loud, make sure you unmute yourself to talk. So now keep in mind that when we're naming topics, the words you come up with should be specific or concrete. It should be something this person talked about. The word should not blame anybody and it should not take anybody's side. So one topic we already said is schedule. This person is saying, I'm having challenges around my schedule. So that's one thing they're talking about. What's something else that they're talking about? So we wouldn't call it managing a schedule. We would just name it schedule, period. And then she has values around the schedule like routine and flexibility, and she's looking for understanding. So we would call it counseling instead of counselor. So counselor blames the counselor, right? It says the counselor is the problem. And so instead of naming a person as a topic, we name what is the thing that the person provides, maybe, right? So in this case, this person is saying they need a different kind of counseling process where they get the understanding and they don't feel pressured and pushed to hurry up and feel different, right? And so counseling would be that topic. Somebody said time to grieve. So I think, so I want to pause right here to notice that if you said to this person, it sounds like time to grieve is important to you, they're actually going to feel misunderstood. Because it's very important to notice that what this person is saying is, I don't think there is enough time in life for me to grieve. They said it doesn't seem like time will heal this wound. So then when you turn around and say, oh, well, it sounds like time to grieve is important to you, they're going to say, no, it's not time, because time is not going to help me. I'm just going to grieve for the rest of my life, right? So just so maybe their grief process is a thing that they are absolutely talking about. So if you said it sounds like your grief process is one of the things you want to get understanding around and that kind of thing, they're going to say yes, right? Also, I notice people are saying things like happiness, right? So happiness is not a topic. This person isn't, right? They are saying, so topics are the things they're saying, this is a thing to problem solve around, or this is a thing I'm having challenges with, or thing, right? So it's going to be nouny. And so what we do about the place where they're saying their happiness is being impacted, it is about their schedule and their grief process and counseling. Again, how to get through the day that's not a specific thing. So that's what we call schedule, right? The stuff that they're saying. So that would still be schedule as that topic. And also somebody is saying work is a topic. So they're not saying my job is a thing, right? They are saying showing up anywhere that I'm supposed to be on time and staying, including their job. So it's not that work is the topic, it's that the schedule is a topic. Expectations also is not going to pass the grinder because it's not specific or concrete. So the one way that I think about making sure I'm naming topics in a way that's specific or concrete is that I go, if somebody says this word, would I know what thing they're talking about? So topic should be thingy. So expectations is not a thing. They're not saying I need to problem solve around expectations, right? That's not a thing that they're talking about. Job responsibilities. They also didn't talk about their job responsibilities at all. So when you're naming a topic, you want to make sure you're naming a thing that they actually talked about. So if you were to say to this person, it sounds like your job responsibilities is a topic, they're gonna say no, I didn't, because they didn't mention any of their responsibilities at work. What they talked about is getting there getting places on time, making appointments, staying where they're supposed to be. So all of that is still schedule as that topic, not job responsibilities. Okay, so Janet is saying expectations to move forward. That's what you mean by the topic, what the expectations are to move forward. So again, think about if you were to say, okay, so when we're naming topics, I'm saying this in response to the answers that you all are giving, expectations to move forward and finding a new normal. So I want everybody to pause and remember, topics are not verbs, right? So it's not going to be a thing to do. It is the thing itself that the person is talking about. So schedule is a topic. Flexibility would be the value around it. So you wouldn't say flexibility or schedule is, slash schedule. You would say schedule is a topic. Flexibility would be a value this person has around schedule. And so again, so finding a new normal would not be a topic. That thing that they're talking about that would be a topic is grief process, right? If you could name it that. People's expectations also is not a topic because it's not specific. What thing is the person talking about in relation to people's expectations? Again, the thing is their grief process and their schedule. That's the stuff they're looking for, understanding around from people's expectations. So topics are very thingy. So you all can even stop trying to come up with answers. The answers here for the topics that this person talked about. They talked about their schedule as a topic. They talked about their grief process as a topic. If you also named counseling as a topic, because they're saying, I don't like the way my current counseling is going, then counseling could also be a topic. So those would be just the 3 topics. So I'm going to pause right here. We have about 17 minutes left. Yeah, this one is hard. And I want to honor that this one is hard. I pulled this one on purpose because those of us in the world who are like the helpers and the fixers of the world, a lot of our answers jump straight to how can I name this thing in a way I can help fix it. And so I purposely gave a vent where somebody is saying, you can't in this situation, right? You can't words to try to make it sound like this thing can be fixed. So this is why you're struggling with things like, well, time healing, when this person is saying, there is no time for me to heal. You know, like as time goes on, it makes it worse. Time doesn't heal this wound. Time actually makes this wound seem more real. So somebody's asking, would death be a topic? It's not that, so the death is, the murder is a thing that already happened. So this person isn't saying, I need to problem solve around the murder, right? They're not saying, I'm looking for the person who killed my brother. The homicide detectives are not giving me information. That would be then a thing that to problem solve around would be the murder. This person didn't mention that at all, right? The thing that they talked about though is the impacts of the murder is now impacting my schedule and my grief process and my counseling, right? So those would be the things. Around those things are intense feelings, devastated, lost, horrified, shocked, confused, trapped, right? Values around those topics. They're looking for flexibility and understanding and right, patience, right? Right. So Carol is saying, so the role here is to hold space for this person and listen. So yeah, but this and acknowledge the feelings, right? So this way of listening, you could listen to this person and your goal would be only to give back the feelings, values, and topics that they expressed, not you trying to name the topics in ways that you think could fix it, right? Because you want to name topics that only they mention, not saying things that that are actually opposite or not what they're saying. So you would say things like, so around your schedule, it sounds like you're looking for flexibility and showing up is important to you, and that you feel lost in figuring out how to show up, and you feel trapped and around your grief. And so your grief process is something also that that you're talking about. And in that grief process, you're looking for patience and you feel pressured into healing in ways that make other people feel comfortable, right? So you see what I'm right there? You would take the feelings and values and topics that they actually expressed and just hand those back to them without you trying to sound like you're trying to fix it or make it better, because sometimes that's not the point. And with people feeling heard and understood, sometimes you can't make it better. They feel how they feel. Their experience is what their experience is. And if your goal is always to try to fix it, what are you going to do when people are saying things that you disagree with? Now you're not going to be listening to them because you're going to be so busy trying to fix them that you aren't going to be able to hear what they are actually saying their experiences, right? Somebody said, Erica, can you speak a little about how you incorporate all three into a coherent statement? Right. So yeah, you don't have to break it up. This will be another training around reflective listening. But what I want to say to you all about it is you don't have to say them back like a list or, all at the same time or in any particular order. You're just like, you're saying it back to them in a way that kind of weaves their feelings, values, and topics back into the context of what they were saying. So the example I was given is things like, okay, so I think I'm hearing you say you feel devastated about the loss of your brother and sometimes pressured to go through your grief in a particular way. So it sounds like your grief process is one of the things you're really looking for understanding and patience around. You also talked about your schedule and that you often feel confused about your routine and how to get, a regular routine back. It sounds like you feel lost and stuck around that. And you're looking for flexibility around your schedule that allows for you to be late sometimes. Right. So that's what you would do with it. And the way you might say it back to somebody might sound different from how somebody else would say it back. The important thing, no matter how you say it back, the important thing is that you are only saying back feelings, values, and topics that are actually expressed by the person. Right? Yeah. Other questions or comments or even aha moments that you have, I'm gonna take this off the screen so that I can where is it? So feel free to unmute yourself even if you have a question or a comment or an aha moment or even what you find challenging about this way of listening.
Not trying to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing I encourage people to remember is things can't be fixed until people feel heard first anyway. Right? So when the situation is hard and people are venting and you try to jump right into, oh, let's get to solutions about that. You can't get to sustainable solutions until everybody's voices are actually heard. Because in hearing really what was going on for people, that's how people are able to come to solutions that are actually going to be sustainable and work and be realistic to them. If you jump straight from, okay, everybody's upset, let's just fix it, you're going to jump over a lot of the stuff that would have need to be heard to figure out, like, how did we even get here in the first place? And so that's the importance of people being heard and understood. When you unpack all of the how did we even get here, that is valuable information to use then for, okay, well then what are all the possibilities about how to meet people's needs? Somebody said the whole training was truly an aha moment. I think you and I would be great friends. Thank you so much for your work and what you do. I'm so grateful. Thank you. It's really about what we were probably, hey, let me scroll up. It's really
Erica,
about what we were probably all taught at the beginning, but it needs to be reinforced often. We tend to be helpers and want to fix things. Yep, yeah. I'm listening.
okay, Erica, this is Sharon. I had a situation today where an old friend called and she's gone through a transformation apparently. And she was talking about how she had gone to a rally at the Capitol because she didn't believe the virus was as bad and it was a conspiracy. And she went on, and I listened, and I didn't use the tools you were saying because I didn't have them. And then finally I said, what the hell am I listening to this for? And so I told her a few, I gave her my thoughts and beliefs about the whole thing. And then I was like, I got a lot to do in my life. How much do I want to give her, listen to this? And then she was like, I said, well, I think I gotta go because I don't agree with you. And I don't believe, I think some of this stuff that you're saying is a little bit ridiculous about there not being a virus and about the government wanting to put everybody on welfare, and that's why they're creating the virus. I said, it sounds ridiculous to me. And so I guess I don't want to talk anymore. And she said, well, I don't want to leave like this. I don't want us to leave like this because I care about our relationship. And so we talked a little bit more. I tried to listen. And then she thanked me. And then I told her that, I said, it sounds like you're a Trump supporter and you've gone that way. When we used to rally together and do protests together and create, working for healthcare for all and so forth. But now she says, well, I'm thinking about it because blah, blah, blah. And then I told her, I said, well, my feelings and my fear is that he's a racist. And then that kind of, so anyway, and she says, well, I hear what you're saying and I don't want to vote for a racist. And so forth. And she says, well, thank you so much for listening. Let's have this type of conversation again. And I get off the phone and I'm going, do I want to have this conversation again? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I handle it, so anyway, I just, as you've been talking, I've been wondering, how do I deal? Because I'm sure there's going to be other opportunities where people disagree with me and it spills over perhaps into political speak. And yet we're people that care for one another.
Right.
You see, and it sounded a little bit like, as we were talking, she was moving in my direction. Mm-hmm. She was beginning to hear me, because when I speak of the current climate, I'm thinking about race relationships and I'm thinking of talking about my pain. So, but anyway, how do we, it's a big question, I know, and you only got a few minutes, but if you could address how we have these types of conversation in these days, where there's, and it's particularly when we're around race with our white sisters and brothers who are looking at different things and not able to see racial pain.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I have a few thoughts about it. So one is, so in a minute I'll talk about, like, if you are gonna have the conversation, what strategies you can use. But first, what I want to say about it is perfectly okay for you to not feel like it, for you to not have the emotional wherewithal, for you to feel exhausted. This question about, do I feel like doing this with this person right now? It's a really good question we should constantly be. I think a lot of times we're having these conversations in the midst of us already feeling very bruised, very empty, very exhausted. And then we hear somebody say something and we're like, the fuck? And we just go, it's just like, and so I think it's really important that before we react, that we go, where am I on the inside right now? Do I have it to give? Because you cannot give what you don't have. So we often end up giving from our fear and from our pain and from our brokenness, instead of giving from a place of, the relationship with this person is important to me and we disagree right now. How should I handle this? Like, you don't even think about that first, because you're pulling from a broken vessel. So it's really important to ask yourself, do I have it to do this conversation with this person right now? And it's perfectly okay to say to people, these are really hard and trying times. I'm being triggered by a lot right now. Right now, I'm feeling kind of emotionally exhausted, and I'm not sure that I can have a thoughtful and intentional conversation with you about this right now. So I would like for us to schedule a different time to have this conversation where I can be more emotionally ready for it and just be more thoughtful. Because I do care about you and I care about our relationship. And I can see that if I answer right now, it might get ugly. You know, like I think we can say that out loud to people. Like, this is not the time today. Okay, so that's the first thing. Is like, and I think that comes with like our emotional awareness and emotional intelligence, right? That we're paying attention to, am I in a space to even have this conversation, and give ourselves permission to say, no, not today. I don't feel like if I got to explain to one more white person 400 years of oppression, I just can't do it today. You know, like, it's okay to say that. If you're a white person going, can I turn in my white card? I don't feel like keep explaining to these people. Like, I get it. Some days you just gotta be like, yeah, not today. All right, but let's say you go inside and you go, yes, I do want to have this conversation right now. Then you can use the skills we just talked about. So for example, Sharon, in the example that you gave with your friend, this person was saying they felt duped, right? Their emotions, the feelings. They feel suspicious of government. They feel duped. Honesty and transparency is important to them, right? And they feel suspicious about the information we're being given. And also that their own research is important to them. And from what they've learned and seen online, now they have questions and they feel confused about whether or not the information we're being given is real or if something else is happening. So you can work on understanding that and say, like, you know, it sounds like you feel really lost and confused right now, or even suspicious of the information that we're getting. And it sounds like your freedom is important to you, right? And you feel trapped and that maybe your rights are being violated right now. So you can honor that that's what the person is saying, even if you think what they're saying is ridiculous. They are saying their freedom is important to them. Now, I might be like, your freedom? Nobody is, because you can't go outside because people might die. That's not your freedom, right? I might feel that way. But the person is saying they feel trapped being told to stay in the house at a time when they don't necessarily believe that they maybe even have to stay in the house. If it's really 5G and not a virus, why I gotta stay in the house? You know what I'm saying? So being able to say, sounds like you feel suspicious and duped and your freedom is important to you and you're looking for more transparency from government and from leaders and right, that kind of thing. But then also asking open-ended questions, which is the training we're going to be doing next at 5 o'clock your time. Because you can, again, asking questions about the things that you don't like, the things you feel offended by. So when they're going, I think it's a conspiracy. Go, okay, so when you can say conspiracy, what do you mean by that? How did you come to that conclusion? Sounds like research and learning more about the virus was important to you. What kind of places were you getting your research from? Right? Because that helps to unpack, right? How are they coming to this conclusion? But also they feel more heard by you, that you actually are curious about how they're getting their information. And then use feelings and values to speak for your own needs and from your own position. So saying to somebody, like, I think what you're saying is ridiculous, is very different from saying, you know, information is important to me as well. And I value having information from scientists and healthcare providers. And that information tells me that these are the things that's happening with the virus. And trusting that is really important to me. I'm hearing you say you feel suspicious of it, and I'm letting you know I trust the information from healthcare professionals who pay attention to viruses all the time, and they're giving us their best, you know, answers. And even things like, you know, and I'm hearing you say, you know, around your freedom being important to you, you feel trapped having to stay in the house right now. And I also feel stuck sometimes. Like, this is really challenging to stay in the house. I feel, you know, torn about when to stay in the house and when to go out and when it'll be time to actually go out more consistently again. I feel confused and torn around those decisions all the time. And so right now I'm just trying to use patience, you know, with this whole process, because it's constantly unfolding and we don't know what's going to happen, right? And so there are ways to use your own feelings and values to express your experience while also listening to their feelings and values. And even when it goes into conversations about Trump and how whether or not he's sexist or misogynist or racist or any of those things, like asking somebody, you realize you got a friend that like supports Trump and you know they're going, yeah, because when he said this, you're going, okay, so help me understand, what do you trust about that? Like what, you know, like asking open-ended questions. It's one of my favorite things to do. The minute I want to slap somebody, I go, oh wait, don't slap them. Ask them an open-ended question. Like work on understanding what they just now said. Because even if we're going to heal it and fix it together, I got to understand racism if I'm going to heal it. Right? So I got to ask questions of people that say racist things. Okay, so we are 2 minutes over. So I don't want to keep people. But thank you all so much for joining me. I will have these recordings ready and I will share them so that you'll all be able to share them as well. After I finish your trainings today, I'm going to a youth-led protest of youth who are standing in solidarity with Minneapolis, but also they are asking for the abolition of policing altogether. They're skipping reform. And they're going straight to, yeah, we think the whole system of policing is based in corruption and racism and injustice. We think we need to abolish it and create something else in its place. But they're doing it in an art way. And so they're having a march and then they're doing poetry. And so I'm going to be going there right after. So my point is, I probably won't be able to email stuff tonight, but first thing tomorrow morning, if you sent me an email to get the handouts, I'm going to make sure I reply and send stuff to people.
I can do that too, Erica. And I just put my email in the chat box, director@cmrsmn.org. And I've got it set up in an email so I can shoot it out right away.
Awesome. Yay.
Erica, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
And we'll
I'll
see you again
all in like an hour.
Join us at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.